Hello, welcome to another episode of Constitutionalist Podcast. I am your host, Joseph M. Leonard. That's L-E-N-A-R-D. It looks French. It's not. It's Leonard without an O. Thank you for tuning in. As Graham Norton used to say on his show, let's get on with the show! Special segment for February and March midweek drops. Normally Saturday monologues and normally a guest appearance on a Wednesday. February and March, 2 a week, Tuesday and Thursdays, in order to get caught up on some interviews that have been stacking up. Enjoy. Joining me today will be L.S.Kirkpatrick, and yes, I'm going to go full-on culturalist, or culturalism, if there's such a word, today, and this will slot as the St. Patrick's Day episode, Tuesday, March 17th. But my guest is actually, as I found out, Scottish. But Kirkpatrick, close enough. Welcome to the show, LS.
Thank you so much. And I love that. And I have to say, there's such a mix between English and Scottish and Irish that, we're all a little bit of everything. And everybody's Irish on St. Patrick's Day.
I was just going to go there. Today, as this airs, we're all Irish. And I generally don't drink beer that much anymore on occasion, but I might have a green beer today also myself. So, and,
Chicago. And ham.
Yeah. Detroit River, we don't attempt to diet green like Chicago does the canals. I think maybe they should. It could be fun. I mean, is it the Ecorse River? There's a few inlets from the river. We could and maybe should. Hey, idiots in Detroit, wake up, get on board, right, with the festivities. Let's dye those green. At any rate, she's not Irish. So, but I reached out to her on Podmatch. Again, I make no bones about that. I use the Podmatch service, tinyurl.com/join Podmatch to check that out. And she says in her bio, or can talk about, you have great value in you. You are worthy. You are enough. You do matter. Oh, well, that sums up my Life and Living series of books. So I had to have her on. And no, that's not the moron. I can't think of his name right now that plays Stuart Smalley, right? I am the old SNL garbage. She's serious. I'm serious. This is serious. Life matters. You are worthy. You may not recognize it every day or any day, but small things add up and matter. Yes?
Yes, absolutely. When I give my talk about the value in you, I always say everything that you have done in your life, all of the choices you have made and the choices that other people have made that have directly affected you and how you've acted or reacted to them, that is where your value comes from. And that's what makes you so unique, because nobody else has ever done that. Nobody else will ever do it. That totally belongs to you. And because of that value, that's what makes you worthy. And that worth and that value is what makes you enough, just like you are. Doesn't mean we can't improve ourselves. We can, but you're worthy right now. And this is why you matter, because you're the only one who can give your voice.
Most are worthy. There's exceptions to every rule. And sadly, as I discuss in the Book of Kennedy Project Carpe Diem, there are a lot of what I coin mass holes, masses of asses that are miserable SOBs and seem to only satisfy their own misery by trying to make others miserable. Don't be one of those people. And in a short story, A Lasting Legacy, misnomer title, it's a novelette. Short story has to do with Ryan, whose life cut short. He always thinks, am I worthy? Am I living up? While he's a Mensa level brilliant, uh, he has esteem issues, as a lot of people do. And exactly the point. Are we measuring up? And as my book goes into, his friends will say, yes, he does. In fact, I just created a Suno AI music tune. The book now has a theme. I've been playing it that talks about we are your living legacy, and others will indeed be my and Kirkpatrick's living legacy if we do it right and do small acts of kindness, try to sow good, then indeed that is worthy. Yes.
Yes. One of the things I used to do before it was even popular, and I would always buy a coffee or a meal for the person behind me, or across in the other lane going the opposite direction, just
I've
because
done
I
that
wanted to brighten
rarely.
someone's day.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
And
Pay it
then it became
forward.
popular. Other people did it too. And
Yes.
I love that, paying it forward. We need to remember to do that. When we've been offered a kindness, we need
Yep.
to in turn do that.
Yep.
And
Arcs.
one of the
Not
hardest
like
things
in,
some people have is accepting that kindness. So we need to learn to accept kindness, even if it's a quarter at the store because you're short 10 cents. Just say thank you. And next time, help somebody else out.
exactly, arcs. Like I go into that in my Life and Living series of books too, that I borrowed from the Evan Almighty movie. Ark, not an ark as in Noah's Ark, although he builds one in the movie. The point is acts of random kindness, our personal ark. And that indeed does make a big difference. Again, small things that you may never remember add up to a big sum and result in your name appearing in the book of life, because indeed you shall be known by your fruits. Let me back up. All right. Put the garbage truck in reverse. Beep, beep, beep. I didn't ask the Christian show usual opening pun, the proverbial your genesis. Where were you born and raised? Proverbial
Oh, wow.
first question, born and raised, where are you now? Significant places you've been in between. How much time did you spend in prison and for what? And
Zero.
for the
Nothing.
record, she's laughing for the benefit of the transcript. That's a joke, people. Let's lighten up.
Yes, that's right.
So
So I was born in Oregon. I can't say I lived in one place because my dad helped put the power lines all over the state. So we moved all the time. In fact, a lot of people asked if we were military family because we were moving so much. Second grade, I was in 6 different schools. There was a lot of moving. Moved up in Montana, met my husband in New Mexico. we we lived in Idaho, and he's from Florida. It's just funny, there's not enough time on the show to talk about all the places I went because there's more important things to talk about on here. But I just want to say this. It's kind of a funny little anecdote that when I was doing genealogy, and I did that for like 50 years, and I discovered on both sides of my family, my mom's and my dad's side, they came from Scotland. My husband, both sides of his parents, came from Scotland. And we didn't know any of this when we got married. In fact, my mom passed away before I finished the genealogy because she would have loved to have known that. She wasn't quite sure where we all came from, but it was just kind of interesting. Sometimes things like that happen.
I'm going to joke. That's a really nice cover story. But I know the truth. You're really from Alpha Centauri, right? You're an alien, not the cross the border illegally kind. You're an ET. Yes, people, for the transcript, she's laughing. These are jokes. These are jokes.
Yeah. Oh, we
So
need laughter. We need laughter. You know, this shirt, best-selling author, the Giving Book Publisher. This was given to me by one of the people who were in my books. And I do this book every year. It's my book to give back to the world, to thank the world for everything that they've helped me with. And it's just amazing how people from all over the world can write something and it goes together, which makes my book wonderful because all the things go together. So it's not just any one thing.
You've, in a way, crowdsourced a book. I've been debating doing that and indeed getting input from a bunch of different people, creatives who would like to be an author but don't feel they have a whole book in them, even though I try to help them with my How to Write a Book and Get It Published book. Not just uploading it on Amazon. You could read the help files from concept to writing, character development, scene development, publishing, promoting, reviews, all of that in this book. But yeah, some people, minor short stories that can be then compiled into a greater, broader, you as the author create a bridge between them to create a bigger, broader novel. I've been thinking about doing that, but with my health, it's a harder way to do a book, so I'm not sure I'll do it, but I've been thinking about it.
Well, we can get together. We'll do one together. Somebody to walk with you.
I've not co-authored with anyone yet. Yes, so I'm looking forward to doing that at some point. But for those looking on the 5 behind the scenes video platform can see, but the 25 plus audio platforms and those reading a transcript do not know you have a background behind you in the video, and it says wisdom on the front porch. So let's talk that.
Yeah, that's my podcast. And I had a magazine last year. We're rethinking it this year, trying to bring more tools, useful tools, substance, put it in a more creative, easy to use way. I mean, it was easy to use before, but we just want to see what we can do different about it. So the magazine's on hold, but the podcast is there. I actually celebrated our 100th episode. We're now on episode 109. And in that, I have Reading Between the Words podcast, which is a sub part of it. And I did that one because there were a lot of authors who needed a platform to get their book out there, something different than what they've done before. So this is a meet the author and find out the story behind the book to really let you understand what's going on, to get in on the secrets and what went on in the development, because it's really different.
I see an avatar kind of you holding the globe, which automatically brings to mind, don't shrug, right? Atlas shrugged.
There you go. There you go. Yeah, because, I'm out to reach the world. You touch one life, that life touches another life, and maybe that life touches 100 lives. Those each touch, more lives, and it just keeps going. We've got over 8 billion people in the world. So even if there's enough to go around, and I don't look at other publishers, other authors as competitors. And I did it first, and I realized that's a really bad thing because it's a negative way of thinking. But we're all working to help people do the same thing. Yeah,
exactly. I couldn't put out How to Write a Book and Get It Published. I don't view them as competition either. I know people got stories. I want them to get their story out. It's good.
Yeah, afraid that they can't write. Oh, I don't know grammar. I'm no good at that. It doesn't matter. That's what editors are for. I am the worst speller. I mean, you don't want to read my manuscript. It's pretty bad, but I give it to an editor who cleans it all up. And I see your book, so I'm going to hold my book up. It says the one and only write your own storybook for kids. And it has a little guidance in it. It has pages where they can write or put in an image or draw a picture. Just kind of help them understand what goes in writing a book. And kids love to tell stories. They love to tell stories. And this is a great way for them to do that and write it down. And then, as parents, we always keep everything our kids do. It's one thing. But who knows? I know people that have written things as kids. They go back to it later in life and then they actually make a book out of it, whether it's a children's book or something that sparks another book in them. And that's the one thing I loved about the Giving book is people were able to see what it was like to write a book, to kind of see what went into it. And I try to make it as gentle a process as possible. I have 3 people from my first 3 volumes who each wrote one thing, and then they were finally brave enough. They had been given the ability to have courage and say, I can do this. And now they're writing their own books. In fact, one went on to write her own anthology. And it's like, that's amazing. And I love everything about the Giving book is giving. So everything on Amazon that my personal book sells, the authors get to keep theirs, but my personal book sells from Amazon, from Books.by, the profit all goes to a nonprofit. And this one is Izzy's Legacy Incorporated. The first 4 were to Idaho Youth Ranch, which not only helped the individual, but the family, the community. So I always want to make sure that I help support somebody who's supporting others.
Yeah, I want to go back to, like you said, doing small things, sharing smiles, even whatnot,
Yes.
and they do to others, the pay it forward concept. I call it, you can borrow this if you like, the old Pantene ad effect. Remember that shampoo? They tell 2 people, then they tell 2 people, then, right? Sooner or later, then you have a movement.
Yes.
Acts of random kindness are part of being a good Christian if you're Christian, or just being a good human if you have no faith at all. Wanting to sow good and make this world a better place. And indeed, that's part why I created the show Christitutionalist, to create a movement of positivity and kindness, not this, oh, peace, love, hippie, can't we all get along? Yeah.
No, we can't, but
Realistic.
we can still be kind.
Right. Not everybody is, but we can at least try to be, right? We can control what we can do.
Myself. I can't control what other people do. I can control how I react or act towards them. I can control myself most of the time. Every once in a while we mess up.
Everybody's entitled to a bad day. We are all entitled to bad off days. That's why Martin Luther King Jr., content of character, and biblical grace comes in. People can have a bad day. You have to give them a second chance. Maybe they're the nicest person in the world, but they were an ornery SOB that one particular day because they didn't get any sleep and got up on the wrong side of the bed. They were out of coffee and they were just in a mood that day, right? But other days, they're fine. In fact, in one of my books, I go into that where, is it Doug, I think is the character name, is that mean, ornery, nasty SOB, a masshole, as I call them. And you just got to avoid those people. If that's their character, just avoid them. Don't let them drag your good spirit down.
That's right. That's so good. I love that song that talks about giving grace to other people. The mom on the bus and her kids are running wild. Instead of looking at her as being a mom with undisciplined kids, maybe she just came from the hospital where her husband's dying and she doesn't know how she's going to make it. I mean, he talks about different things. The old man who maybe wasn't paying attention and almost ran into you. Give him some grace because maybe his wife just passed away. You talk about someone who's can't figure out what's going on. Maybe someone who's been bullied in school and everybody's just been attacking them. And it's just been one of those massive days to draw on what you're saying. And they're just so unhappy and so sad. Sometimes all you have to do is just smile at somebody. give them one of your smiles. I can't believe how many times I've heard somebody say to me, your smile today just made me feel so much better. I was having such an awful day. Thank
Yep.
you for that.
Yep.
Or saying hi. There's the story that a preacher told that he watched this guy, every day he goes back and forth to work. And this day, as he was passing him on the way, he said, hi, I hope you're having a good day. The guy was going home that day to kill himself if nobody said hi to him. And all it took was one hi. I mean, that's no effort on our part just to say something like that.
I share
amazing.
exactly a fictional kind of quasi-same story in the book of Kennedy, Project Carpe Diem. Kennedy, female lead, isn't quite feeling it that day, but she forces a smile, fakes a smile to Sam, who is at the ice cream place with his daughters, divorcee with his daughters that day, and he's contemplating death. But that smile she gives him makes his day, and it's better. And he goes on to get remarried, and their child then goes on to cure cancer. What role did that one small smile play? It made all the difference in the world. Exactly. Kennedy doesn't even think twice about it, but she saves a life and helps cure cancer. Small things matter.
Yeah.
Yes.
And you may never know the kindness that you show someone, how much of an effect that's going to have a ripple effect on them.
A butterfly effect. To quote another movie, The Butterfly Effect. Exactly. That's exactly.
That was a really intense show.
I love those movies. Those were great. Yeah, but it's like it's a wonderful. Yeah, it's like It's a Wonderful Life too, right? Mm-hmm. All those movies are meant to be way over the top, overly dramatic to make their point. We're not going to have a Clarence to show us what life would be like without us. And nor are we going to have likely saved somebody from drowning who then goes on to be a war hero, or stop a pharmacist from poisoning a child, which destroys 2 families. Small things, as you and I are saying, add up and matter. The sum total of your life will be small things that add to the big number on the other side of that equal sign in the equation of life, and your entry in the book of life or not.
Yeah, absolutely. And I love that you have that Kennedy character who says, even though I'm having a bad day, I'm going to try to smile, because that really does help your attitude too. It's amazing that we can have a better day because we can laugh or we can smile. I mean, Reader's Digest always talked about laughter being the best medicine. And it is. When you start laughing, even if you start fake laughing,
chemicals.
You just start laughing, it starts changing things in your body.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And maybe the thing that helps you the most, especially when you're having a bad day, is to smile. Is to just stop and say, that's it. I'm tired of having a bad day. I'm just going to smile. Smile. Everybody wonders what you're up to.
Yeah, I also share my life philosophy in my books. I have my characters repeat, things could always be better, but they could often be worse. And that story of that forcing the smile came out of basically an episode I did with Bullseye the Clown. They could find that in my back catalog. Bullseye named Bullseye because he was the target of bullying growing up. So he became Bullseye the Clown to talk about bullying. And indeed, a story he gave when in Russia, none of them could speak the language, but they would smile and play with the rubber chickens and give away little rubber, right? And he could just tell the woman walking by, pulling right next to nothing in the grocery cart, looking down and depressed. And waving and smiling and handing her a rubber chicken through the window, and to see her light up, just not a word exchanged, but that changed her life, I bet, that day.
Absolutely. Absolutely. There's so much tragedy in the world. And if we're always looking at the bad things and the sad things, we're missing so much more. And I know they're there. I know it's terrible. We've got this war that's going on right now, and it's devastating on both sides. But we've got to look at there is going to be good things coming out of this, things that we aren't going to know about maybe for years. Maybe we won't know. Maybe our grandchildren will know that. Um, I have an illustrator for my book Baxter's Heart, and it's talking about the loss of a pet. And this book actually turned into be a book for adults. I wrote it for children to help them go through the grieving process to understand. And I'm surprised at the adults who are so glad I wrote it. They go, I had no idea what was going on. This helped me go through it so much. But getting back to my illustrator, she's from Ukraine. And she is actually in this new volume 6, that I'm accepting submissions for right now, the Giving book. And she talks about the good things that has happened amongst all the terrible things going on in the war there. And it's still going on. They still have raids. They still have blackouts. They still have Russia hitting their power plants. We think, oh, we don't hear any more about it, so it must be over. It's not over for them. But she has such a great attitude. And she said something to me, and I said, is it okay if I put this in my book? And she was sure. So what I actually did is I went back over our conversations and took out the parts that were just relevant to what she said. And then I had her read it to okay it. I won't ever do anything without anybody's permission. And she said, I am so glad you did this. To be able to go back and see my thoughts and what went on through there, what a blessing. I didn't know I was going to bless her. I know that her story is going to bless everybody else. And it's a short story. But with all of this together, it just made so much perfect sense. And it's like, you just never know what your message, maybe you have a photograph with a quote. I have, in my first book, I have a gentleman who had an upside down ketchup bottle. And on it, he called it awesome sauce. And then he has a little image of him there, one of the avatar images. And it was just so cute. I mean, it just makes you laugh looking at it. So you never know what you're going to say, the memoir, the photograph, the art piece you're doing. My grandson, who is autistic, he does anime work. And so he's in my books. And he loves it. It's like, wow, I'm published. This is great to be able to give people a gift. And like I said, it's giving all the way. And we need to give from our heart every day, whether we get anything back or not. That's one thing I like about this book. For my part, the only thing I'm getting from it is just the pure joy of being able to help other people get their message in a book. I'm not getting any monetary value from it, but I wouldn't give this book up for anything.
Mm-hmm. Okay, well, time is flying. So we've talked about the giving, which is good. We've touched on, indeed, you have great value in you. You are worthy. You are enough. You do matter. Despite the Stuart Smalley idiocy, that being a joke, we mean it seriously. We've talked about the Giving book, the Baxter book. What other books have you got?
Oh man, I have
probably can't list
books.
them all, but yeah.
No, there's over 50 books.
I'm not going to ask you your favorite, because that's like asking a parent which is your favorite child. But
yeah, I don't have it. My favorite is the next one I'm writing.
Yeah, right. For marketing purposes, my favorite is the next one. I joke about that. I'm currently working on my 13th nice. Overall, 5th in the Life and Living series, tentatively titled Loss, dealing with, loss as part of life. And indeed, I've released, it's probably not coming out till May, but it's pretty much written. It'll just be a short story, so I can make it a 99-cent Kindle ebook exclusive.
There you go.
Something inexpensive, right? we're all tight on money. So, just a short story. It's mostly done. So, I've been pre-promoting it, and indeed, it's real. Most people, when they're promoting like their film, right? Oh, this is the best movie I've ever done. The best bet my best work. And then next movie they say the same, and next movie they say
Yeah.
the same. But when I say my next book is indeed wow, so important, I really mean it. I'm not just saying it for marketing and promotion reasons. The same with what you're saying. I hear you.
And we do. We get better with each one. We learn more, every day we're alive. We're learning something different. We're learning more. We're continuing on. I know when I was a kid, the older people, and to me, you weren't old unless you were 70 years old. When I was a kid, some people said 30 was old. It's like, no, 70 is old. And but they would say, learn every day. Don't quit learning, because when you quit learning, you start dying. And I thought that was just the weirdest thing I ever heard, but I totally
No,
understand it.
literally,
You know?
the brain is kind
Yeah,
of dying at that point. Your body
it
craves
craves to learn.
yeah, your body craves caloric intake. Your brain craves neural
Input.
intake. Yeah,
There you go.
exactly right. So
It's like Five
I
Alive. More input. More
yeah,
input.
right. From Johnny Five from Short Circuit. Yeah, more
Yeah.
input. Very. I'm glad you made that reference. That's great. I love that movie. That was great.
Oh,
Johnny
it's so
Five
fun.
alive. Yeah. So I haven't said your name enough. Thank you, L.S. Kirkpatrick. I appreciate it. Do you have a website for people to find you?
I do. It's L.S.Kirkpatrick.com, and it's the letter L, the letter S, Kirkpatrick.com. You can see it, all my books, almost all of my books are on there. I've got a couple that I've done that I haven't got up there yet. And you can also find me on books.by and the slash L.S. Kirkpatrick. It has my new Volume 5 Giving book on it.
Wonderful. Thank you, L.S. Kirkpatrick. I wish we had more time.
Me too.
I try to keep my shows around 30 minutes because it's the Twitter attention span or TikTok, right?
Yeah.
Everybody just give me the headline. Well, details matter, people. The headline
Ooh.
can be deceiving. The TikTok short leaves out a lot of important information you really need to know to have an informed opinion. And we are all entitled to our own opinion. You are not entitled to your own set of made up facts. The opinion matters if it's based on reality or unicorn fart fantasy, I'd like to say. Yes?
This has been so much fun. I love this. Gotta have more
Yeah.
joy in the world.
Yeah, I'm definitely not your average podcast host, and
That's all right.
yeah, and no, I don't suffer the sin of hubris. I go into hubris in my CTP 3 and CTP 4 constitutional educational theory. Uh, I say that with all humility. Others say that of me. I don't say that of myself. Right? A big difference there. I A lot of this stuff comes from above. I am just the vessel that types it out. I'm sure you probably feel the same way a lot of times.
Oh, absolutely. I get woke up. My golden hour for writing is 3 o'clock. I get woke up. I have a pen and pad beside my bed. I write the idea down. And if I can't stop writing, I just get up and finish the story. A lot of times I'm finishing the story as my husband's going off to work. And then I have to refine it. I've just got the basics there. I do want to say one thing. I don't know why I want to say this. I just feel like I really need to say it. I found this really great thing to do. So in the 70s, we had this thing that was one way. You hold your finger up in the air, and you hold it way up in the air, but I'll just put it down here for those that are watching the video. So I've got my finger pointing upward. Now, if you take that and you point it at somebody, you've got three fingers pointing back at you. If you turn that and point it at yourself, now you've got this whole circle of everything pointing at you. Get rid of that. Go up this way. That way you can get the inflow of blessings in. Where those fingers at, they're going to come pour out on you, and some of it's going to spill out on someone else.
You point a finger, don't be wagging it, because 3 of your own are pointing right back at you.
There you go.
Are you able to self-reflect? Remember, the Bible says, remove the log from thine own eye first.
Yes.
Right?
That's
Michael
right. Remove the
Jackson.
splinter.
Yeah, exactly. Michael Jackson's I'm starting with the man in the mirror, or Rick Springfield, similarly in his prayer song, I send a prayer to heaven for the chance to be a better man than the man I see in reflection in my mirror. Start with yourself.
Absolutely.
Do good, so good. Melania gets a lot of grief, but her Be Best program is a wonderful thing. Start with yourself. Be better. Yes?
Yes, absolutely. Because that's who you're around all the time. And you have to give yourself grace. You make a mistake, you blow it that day, you're angry that day. So what? Give yourself grace, forgive yourself, love yourself. Tomorrow's a new day. The next few minutes are new minutes.
Yep. Amen. I hear you there. That's when we've quoted some things that aren't from the Bible, but they are very biblical. I often talk about the Rush, not Limbaugh, but the rock group out of Canada, Free Will song, right? If you choose not to decide, you still have made a choice. That's not of the Bible, but it is very biblical. Indeed, either you choose or others choose for you. And you might not like the rotten fruit that is born from your unwillingness to sow good fruit, right?
Absolutely.
Anyway, yeah, I've blown past the 30 minutes now. So thank you again, L.S.Kirkpatrick. It was a great discussion. And, oh, yes, happy St. Patrick's Day to everyone, even though L.S.Kirkpatrick is Scottish. Take care. God bless,
Thank
L.S.
you.
There's a tear in my green beer, falling slow, crystal clear, while the bagpipes wail and the crowd cheers loud. I'm drowning sorrows in this emerald cloud, slowing to the memories that won't disappear. There's a tear in my green beer. They both said goodbye with a shamrock kiss, left me with nothing but this empty bliss. Everyone's dancing, singing loud. I'm sitting here crying in the crowd. Irish eyes were smiling once upon a time, now they're leaking like a busted line. One more pint, maybe it'll mend, or maybe I'll just cry till the bitter end. Other Irish eyes may be smiling, as for mine, they're crying. There's a tear in my green beer, falling slow, crystal clear, to the ones we loved and the ones we lost. Raise your glass, no matter the cost, slowing to the heartache that brought us here. There's a tear in my green beer.
like, and subscribe to Constitutionalist Politics Podcast and share episodes. We need your help. Thank you for having tuned into another Constitutionalist Podcast show. I really appreciate that you stopped by. Again, please like, share, subscribe. We need you to help spread the Constitutionalist movement. Thank you again. Take care. God bless. Love you all.